welcome to French Alps, the most beautiful mountains I've ever hiked. If you like the Dolomites or Tour du Mont Blanc, this is definitely the place which you need to hike, because it has everything what those two which I mentioned, but more. I hiked also the Dolomites and or Altavia in the Dolomites and Tour du Mont Blanc, and two things bothered me. So I was looking for something better, and first thing were crowds. Both of those trails are very, very crowded, and they are way too many people. I think it's because it's just overrated, these two trails. They are nice, but just too many people are going there. And second thing is wild camping. It's forbidden around Mont Blanc, and in the Dolomites it's very hard to camp there. You have to go to the campsites, or you have to hide somewhere and risk a fine and do it illegally, basically. So I was looking for some alternative which will have also nice views, but with those two things not present, and I found this. This area is in France, on the border with Italy. It's close to the Mont Thabor, and there are several trails in this area which you can hike. I made a custom loop which partly follows Tour du Mont Thabor, Tour des Cerces, GR57 and GR50, I think. And I connected them all to make one loop, to start in Nevash and finish at the same place. And it was absolutely amazing and epic, and it was much better than the Dolomites and then the Tour du Mont Blanc than I even thought that it could be. The area here, as you can see, it's surrounded by mountains, mountain peaks, and the trails are following the ridges, going up and down. And the main thing here, which makes it a bit different than the Dolomites and Tour du Mont Blanc, are those Alpine lakes. They are everywhere here. You are crossing several of them per day. It looks like lakes in Pyrenees. Sometimes there's snow, but it's very cinematic, very, it looks like in some cartoon movies. Everything is nice and sunny and colorful, and those lakes and views are amazing, but it's not a walk in the park. It's similar to the Tour du Mont Blanc or the Dolomites. I will mention them all the time because I specifically looked for something which is similar. It's very vertical, so you are going constantly up and down, and it's not just up and down like this, but it's more like several hours up, several hours down, several hours up and down again. So it's quite demanding. It's not technical, but you need good physique for that, definitely, because my knees are hurting even now. I finished yesterday. It took me 5 days actually, and my knees are still hurting from those long descents, steep descents. So my variant started in Nevash, which is the only town actually on the whole hike. The loop which I made, it doesn't pass any villages, towns, no civilization, no nothing, just a few refugios. Depends on how fast you are walking, but usually you pass a refugio at least once per day. This has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages are clear. When you are not passing civilization, it's not as crowded. You meet way less people than in those Dolomites, for example. You feel more remote, but it also feels wilder and just nicer. Like being there feels better than being close to civilization in other popular trail. So you start in Nivage, but there is one thing, you can't leave the car in Nivage overnight. It's forbidden. There is another option, and that's a village called Rubion, which is like 4 or 5 kilometers from Nivage. Before it, you leave the car there. There is a big parking lot specifically for people who are leaving their cars overnight. It's free, it's huge. Like when you come around noon, there are many cars and it's close to full, but when you come in the morning, it's half empty. Or not half empty, but plenty of spaces for parking. So you leave the car there, and then you go to Nivage, to the start of the trail, either by walking, which is like 40 minutes, or you take a bus. But those buses are also free. They are going like every half an hour. But the first one is at 7:40, I think. So if you come as me, I came at 5, 6, I don't know, something like that. You have to walk to Nivage, but really 40 minutes, not a problem. Then you come from the mountains straight to the car, to the parking lot, so not an issue. The original trail Tour du Mont Thabor, which was a big part of my hike actually, is I think around 70 kilometers. And I was looking for something longer, so I extended it through several detours to make it at least 100 kilometers. And looking at it from this perspective, after I finished it, it was a very good idea, because Tour de Mont Thabor misses several very, very nice places, and the other trails like GR57 or Tour des Cerces, they are missing also some nice parts which are part of the Mont Thabor trail. So I think it's the best thing what you can do is just to combine them and to make a tour. And a huge advantage of this area and of the loop which I made is that there are rivers and streams with crystal clear water everywhere. You are crossing them everywhere. Apart from one area, the highest point around Mont Thabor, they are everywhere, and you pass one stream maybe every 1 hour, sometimes every 3 minutes. They are really, really everywhere. So this is really good for hiking, because you don't need to care about carrying a lot of water. You just take 1 or 2 liters and you are okay. I was usually taking 3 liters, but I drank 1 instantly and took 1 with electrolytes for later. But this is also a big difference from those previous, from those Dolomites and Tour du Mont Blanc, because really water is everywhere here, and it's quite needed because you can't buy anything on the trail, on the route. In those Refugios, they have something, but a little bit disappointing for me. First of all, no vegan options here. You can't even expect that they will have vegan options, because they use local cheese and milk in everything. But second, they cook, they open kitchen only between 12 and I think 1 or 2 p.m. So there is a very small window when you have to arrive to any refugio to eat. If you arrive earlier or later, they have just some snacks and cola and things like this, but you don't get a proper meal. So you have to plan a bit or do it my way. I took all the food by myself from home. I made a mixture of nuts and couscous and all those things, and cold soaked everything, and not a problem. It was like 4.5 kilos of food, and I brought nearly 2 kilos back. So it wasn't even needed that much, and I didn't buy anything in Refugios. So it's doable even when you skip, if you skip everything, every single refugio on the way, and you take just water from those water streams, which are, by the way, very clean and some people are drinking the water even without filtering, but I don't recommend that after my experiences on in the Dolomites on Altavia 1 when I got water poisoned. So filter everything, it's easy, and the water is perfect temperature. You can even swim in those lakes, you know, but the water is quite cold. But you can wash yourself, or in those streams you can wash yourself several times per day and feel fresh. So really nice. This is really nice here in the French Alps. I liked it a lot. Apart from that, there are no crowds here. The trails here, they are not difficult technically. They are demanding physically, because as I said, there is a lot of ascending and descending. It's sometimes several hundred of elevation up for several hours, and then the same down, and then the same up. So you are there is probably not even a flat, you know, longer flat stretch all the time. You are going up and down, and some of those descents are especially demanding because it's not on the path, it's on rocks which are all wobbly, and it's very steep. So I never suffered on painful knees, but this time I did. It was very demanding, but technically it's trivial. These trails here, they are very nicely marked. There are marks everywhere. Yellow and red trails are passing here actually, and you can't get lost basically. But there is one exception, and that's west part of Mont Thabor. I'm here now in the beginning of July, and I wanted to be on the top of Mont Thabor for sunrise. So I was camping at the latest place where it was possible to camp, because everything higher was just rocky and no grass, no nothing to set the camp in. So I slept around 4 kilometers from the top, started at 3:30, and maps told me that I will be at the top after 6, something like that. So I eagerly woke up at 3:30 and went up, but some of those sections, those wet sections heading to Mont Thabor, are dangerous, and the only reason for that is that there are big snow patches, several dozens of meters big snow patches, which are on a slope. So it's like 45-degree slope covered by a snow patch, and that the path is going through. The problem is that it's on the shadow side of the mountain, so the snow, at least now, was completely frozen. It didn't feel like a snow, it was basically ice. And going on 45-degree slope of ice is impossible. And the only thing what you could do, and what I did, was that you go exactly in the footsteps of someone who was there when the snow was melted a bit, so he could make those footsteps. It was rock solid. The snow was rock solid, icy. You couldn't make your own footsteps. You had to go exactly in the footsteps where someone before you went. It still didn't feel safe at all, because one bad step and you slip and you die, because there was a big drop down there. And I think you just need the trekking poles for that. I didn't have them, I never used them, and this was the first time I was really regretting it, because with trekking poles it's way safer when you can hold yourself and you have a better stability. When you don't have them, it's dangerous. So either I mark this in the maps, check the member section, I mark this section and many other things like camping spots and things like that, and daily routes in the member section in the maps. So it's there, but don't go there without the trekking poles. It's dangerous, that part. You can go around, but you miss some nice views. And by the way, the Mont Thabor itself, I wanted to be there for sunrise, which is here after around 6 a.m. So I started at 3:30. but because it was so difficult and dangerous, and I just was crawling there and praying that I won't die. It took me 2 more hours, so I arrived after 8, which was way after the sunrise. But the good thing is that there were still no people. My only reason why I wanted to go so early was to be there alone, because I know that this is one of the famous peaks here, and people are often going there for sunrise and for sunset. So I wanted to be there first. Luckily, I was there first, or there was one guy who was bivouacking there actually on the top. Like, wow. But after like 20 minutes, people started to come, and before 9, there were dozens of people hiking up from the east side actually, because there is a Refugio Mont Thabor where people sleep, and then they go up to the Mont Thabor peak itself in the morning. So around 9, it was full of people already. They were crawling up from Mont Thabor side, and I was just passing that side and going to around to make the loop, to finish the loop. But still, in terms of difficulty, I would say that the Dolomites, especially Alta Via, it's harder, it's more demanding, it's more, I would say, raw. Those mountains are spiky, and Alta Via felt more difficult for me. Also, on the Alta Via trail in the Dolomites, there are more exposed sections. Here, apart that one specific path, nothing exposed. There are people even going with kids or with dogs, no problems with that. On one, I made one detour through one Ferrata. It's actually not marked in the maps as Ferrata, it's marked as a ladder. And I was a bit surprised to see a big iron rope and climb it basically through the Ferrata. But that's not for families or people with dogs. But apart from that, it's the easiest hike from all those 3 which I'm mentioning all the time: Tour du Mont Blanc, the Dolomites, and this one. If you are not physically in the best shape, or you have children or dogs, I recommend this hike, because this is suitable for that. It's not easy. It's demanding because of elevation, but not because of technical sections or technical difficulty. Although you need definitely a good pair of shoes, because big part of this trail is rocky, and those rocks are wobbly, and you are crossing streams and things like that. So take good shoes. The number one thing which I totally love about this area here, and it lasts for whole France, is that camping, and not bivouacking, but camping with a tent, real camping, is allowed. There are only 2 rules here in France. First is that you have to be above tree level, which means above 1,900 meters. You can set up a tent above 1,900 meters, and it's legal here. This is exceptional, because there is nothing like that in Italy, Spain, Switzerland, any mountains. You can't do this. It's illegal. Here in France you can. There are very few exceptions, which are some natural parks, and they are marked, but mostly 99% of French Alps you can camp freely, legally, above 1,900 meters. You can even see signs, that it's allowed, but then there is a tent crossed with the time, so you can camp legally after 7 p.m. till 9 a.m. That's the rule here. Of course, we should abide the rules and everything, but if you will set up a camp half an hour or 1 hour earlier and leave 1 hour later, nobody will complain, nobody will have any problems. I saw people camping right next to those lakes, and when I was leaving after 8, 9, they were still there, and they were smiling, and people around were smiling on them. Nobody has a problem. Basically, wild camping here in French Alps is totally fine, free, maybe even encouraged for some reason. And I don't know why this can't be in other countries, because around the whole loop I didn't see any rubbish, anything destroyed, no problems. People are just respecting nature here and enjoying their time in nature, and wild camping is one of the most beautiful things which you can do. So this is a huge thing for me. I hate spending nights in refugios or in campsites with hundreds of other people and noise, and no, never. But this was one of the reasons I came here, and it was beautiful. The huge amount of camp spots is absolutely breathtaking. You can camp. You are just looking when you are walking in. When I was walking in the Dolomites, and when you want to set up a camp somewhere, you have to start like 1 hour before, because there is no, like, you are not guaranteed that you will find a good spot. In most of those mountains, you are just looking for a good spot, and sometimes it takes a lot of time. Here, good spots for camping are everywhere, literally everywhere. And it's also because it's so beautiful here, because you are passing one beautiful place after one. You go and there is a huge crystal clear lake, Alpine lake with snow around and everything, and it's just like, wow, I would just sleep here because it's just wonderful. But you have 4 hours left, and you know that you will find 20-30 places like this along the trail. So there are good places for camping everywhere, apart from the top part where there are rocks around the Mont Thabor. Everywhere, and everything is above 2,000 meters, 2,500 meters, usually 2,500, 2,600 meters of elevation. You set up a camp. So those beautiful places are everywhere, and you are just, oh, I'm missing this beautiful place. I would love to camp here, but there are so many more. So this is one of the best experiences in terms of camping, and in my life, definitely the best one. Super easy to camp, or legal or free, no problems with anything. Just wow. And all the places I camped were just amazing. And there is one more thing which I was surprised, and which surprised me positively, is that there was, at this time, the beginning of July, when I'm here, there was zero condensation. That never happened to me. Anytime I set up a tent and I was sleeping somewhere, it was wet from the inside due to condensation. For some reason here, at this time, zero, nothing, not even a single drop, no humidity, no nothing, and even close to those lakes. Few times I was camping like 10 meters from a river or a stream, not a single drop, no condensation. It's just perfect for camping here. And when I'm talking about the time I'm here, the beginning of July, the weather here at this time is absolutely perfect. During the day, it's around 20 degrees, 21, 22. Lower, it's more, up to 27. Now I'm in Rubion, it's 27, but higher in the mountains, it's around 20. And in the night, it's 5 to, I would say, 10 degrees. So quite chilly, but not freezing chilly. But there is a catch to this. The temperature is perfect, basically. If it would be less, it wouldn't be pleasant. If it would be more, it would be too hot. But the catch is that it's quite windy and the sun is very, very strong. I got burned the second day. My face is falling apart, basically. My nose is falling apart. Everything hurts, my face whole hurts. My ears, this part, they got burned the second day. I couldn't sleep that night because it was just super painful to lie on them. So one thing, definitely take sunscreen here with high rating, because the sun, the higher you are, the stronger the sun is, but also you don't feel it. That's the thing, that's the problem, that you don't feel it because the temperatures are lower. so you don't feel the burn on your skin. You feel the burn on your skin when you are burned already, which is too late. And that happened to me. So I'm peeling all around my face because I just didn't use the sunscreen. But be smart and take it with you. In July, another good thing is that the days are super long. The sunrise is around 6 and sunset after 9, so you have plenty of hours for hiking, plenty of sun. So that's a good thing, and that's also one of the reasons why I suggest to hike this trail at the beginning of July as I did, because if you come earlier, there are more snow sections which are hard to pass. Now at the beginning of July there were just a few, and around the Mont Thabor there was more, and it's safe to cross them. But if you come earlier, there will be many more, and if they are on a slope, you need equipment for that. So that's one thing, and another is the weather. I haven't experienced a single storm or rain, and there are two reasons for that. First is that the French Alps are the sunniest and driest mountains in Europe. Actually, I was researching this and found out that this place has mathematically the lowest chance of rain and thunderstorms when it comes to mountains in Europe. So it's good for weather. It's just mathematical. But 2 days before I came, it was like 2 weeks of rain. It was raining constantly here. And now when I'm checking the forecast, I was hiking it for 6 days. From tomorrow it should be again raining and more thunderstorms. But and the second reason is luck, because I'm just lucky. The summer thunderstorms are normal here in the mountains. It's normal, it's physical thing. So just like in the Dolomites or everywhere, count with thunderstorms which happen because of the heat in the mountains. So, and the little bit the problem here is that there is nowhere to hide in those refugios, and those refugios, they are like 7-10 kilometers from each other. So if you get caught off guard on some peak, you are on your own in the thunderstorm, which is not very safe. But as I said, if you are looking for the best chance to have a good weather, this is your place, because the chance of getting thunderstorms and rain is lower here than on the Tour du Mont Blanc or in the Dolomites. There are some animals here. Now I'm sitting in the meadow, basically. Funny is that you won't find this on the trail. I'm in Roubion already, and this is much lower than the trail is. The trail is like at least 700 meters higher, and there are no meadows with higher grass. They are meadows with low grass. So there are many marmots here. It's a famous animal around all these mountain areas, around all these countries here. The difference between French marmots, or these areas marmots, and the Dolomites or Tour du Mont Blanc is that because there are less people here, they are much more scared of people. So while in the Dolomites they come to you basically, and they are not scared. You can basically pet them. Here, no marmot comes closer than 30. They never come closer. When they see you see first you hear the whistling far from you, and that's the warning. They are warning each other that there is a danger, which is you. And if you are lucky, and if you look carefully around, you see some 40 meters farther, but no marmot comes close to you. You just have to really look for them. You hear them several times per day, but you see them only if you are really looking around and you stop and you see some little movement in the distance. I think I saw like 10, maybe not many. They are definitely more careful than in the other areas, and they just hide when they see you. There are also many big birds around, and I was very lucky that I saw the Alpine Ibex, which is a mythical animal. Actually, it was for a very long time considered as a mythical animal, that it exists but nobody sees it, and suddenly in 19th century it got nearly extinct. There were very few left, but people just wanted to repopulate them, and now they are around 30,000 of them, I think. And I saw one, and it was just majestic. It was on that night ascent to Mont Thabor, so it was high in the mountains, around 3,000 meters, and it was dark. It was just before the sunrise, and I was thinking, what crazy human is here? It was like a silhouette, big, huge silhouette, like a human-sized silhouette. And I was thinking, like, who is in this ungodly hour walking here? And then we were just staring at each other, and he started to move, and then I saw those huge horns. Those Alpine Ibexes, they have, the males, they have all over 1 meter big horns. That's like that, huge horns. So we were staring at each other, and then he just walked away. He didn't run away because he's not scared. He's not scared of you. He just walked away, like, bye. That's it. Not like other animals, they are scared and they run. These didn't. If you would threaten him, he would probably fight. But wow, what a found, this Alpine Ibex. I think I was very lucky, because now they are only around 30,000 around whole on the earth living. So they are not that many. So I was very lucky, and this was a great experience. Actually, I was just filming something, so I have it on a camera. I was lucky. This was pure luck. What surprised me also is that there are 0 mosquitoes here. Usually mosquitoes are annoying in the evening when you are setting up the tent, or when you are waking up. They are buzzing everywhere and they are biting when you are just setting up the tent. No mosquitoes here. In the evening there were many flies buzzing around, but that's just annoying. That's it. There is nothing like that they would bite you or anything like that. So basically what you are looking for are marmots, and pure luck, that Alpine Ibex. They are definitely no dangerous animals or bears or wolves. There are no ticks here because it's high, so no problems with any danger in this category, of animals. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention is that because there is no civilization apart from those few refugios, I highly recommend to take power banks, not power bank, but power banks with you, or a solar charger, because there is no place to recharge your stuff. You have a chance to recharge your stuff in those refugios, but it highly depends on the time when you come, because if you come at the time when they serve meals, at the time there are many people there, and those electrical sockets are full, so you can't recharge your stuff. And when you come outside of those hours, you won't get a meal. And in some refugios they don't even allow to recharge stuff. So I highly recommend power banks. I had 2 power banks, 30,000 and 20,000, plus the solar charger. And because it was sunny all the time, all those long days, I didn't use a single power bank charge. I was just charging all my cameras and drones and everything, and phone. I was charging from solar, which works well on the straight sun, but if it would be raining or dark or cloudy or anything, it doesn't work. So also a bit lucky. And when I'm talking about drones, that's another thing, because in the Dolomites and most of the part of Tour du Mont Blanc, the using of drones is not allowed, is forbidden. And here it is. Again, another advantage of this area, of these French Alps, you can use drone. Obviously, you shouldn't use it in a way when it could bother people or animals. So I never used it in places with people or when I heard marmots. That's just not nice thing to do. Oh, and I forgot to mention one thing, that there are also sheep and cows, but I met only two herds. One herd of sheep with a guardian dog, but it was a fenced place, so they were just in like 50 by 50 square area and they couldn't go anywhere else. And the cows, they had a huge area for themselves, and that was it. No, like on Tour du Mont Blanc or the Dolomites, you see sheep everywhere. Here, no. And what's connected to that actually is that it's a good thing for you, because it's never good to drink or even filter water which is below the pastures where the sheep are, because when they poop into that water, into those streams or drink from it, the chance that it will be contaminated and then you will get health issues is much higher. So always look around when you see herds of sheep or any animals. Basically, don't drink water below. Always drink water from streams above, or just look at the map and it shows you, where are other streams which are not passing that place with the animals. And when I'm talking about maps, absolutely crucial thing here is to get to download offline maps, because there is no signal here. I think there were like 3 spots on the top of some peaks, in the Mont Thabor and 2 more, where you could get signal, but that's it. I was walking like 6 days literally with an airplane mode, because when you don't use airplane mode in the phone and there is no signal, the phone drains the battery 10 times faster, because it's just searching for signal all the time. So I recommend to use the airplane mode and turn it off only on those bigger peaks where there is a chance to have a very weak signal to tell your loved ones that you are okay. But I rather said that I want to be with signal for 6 days, so don't be scared that is something happened to me. That's actually one of the disadvantages, or maybe the only, apart from not able to restock, that's the only disadvantage about this area comparing to Tour du Mont Blanc or the Dolomites, that there is no signal. On those other trails there is signal everywhere basically, but here it's on 1% or 0.5% of the whole trail there is a little bit of signal. So you are offline. And for someone it's a bad thing, for me it's a good thing. You are not tempted to look into your phone and read messages or share photos with friends or whatever. You are just here and you are focusing on what's around you, which is better. So maybe it's even an advantage, but I understand that in these times it's difficult. Okay, so if I would compare this to Tour du Mont Blanc and the Altavia in the Dolomites, I hiked Altavia 1 and Altavia 3. They were a bit different, but let's say the Dolomites. Tour du Mont Blanc would get 8 out of 10. The Dolomites would get 8 out of 10, and this area, it's a no-brainer. It's 10 out of 10. It's the best mountain area which I've ever hiked, and it's just wow. I think that there can't be anyone saying that they don't like this place, because there is no reason to, apart from that there is no signal and there is harder to restock and there are no towns. It's in France, so 99% here are French. People are French, hikers and everyone who meet, mostly they are French. Interesting thing is that they don't like speaking English, or they can't, but I think that they don't want, because when I talk with people here, and if they were French, their English was even worse than mine. They just knew basic words and sometimes couldn't find a word and sometimes couldn't say what they wanted to. But each time they stopped me and asked for something, their English was suddenly totally fine. So I think that they just don't like to speak English here. The basic things you arrange with hands and legs and a few basic words, but other than that, English here is not that popular. I met some hikers from Belgium or from Ukraine and from Germany, and we talked, and it was nice, but there was a very small minority. When you hike anywhere else in Europe, it's usually like 30% of those different groups. But here, really, like 99% of people here you meet are French, and their English is usually not that good. So expect that if you will want to talk. My budget here was actually exceptionally low here. I paid 0 for meals because I didn't get any. The only reason was that they didn't have anything vegan here. So I paid 0 for food, I paid 0 for drinks, I paid 0 for nights like refugios or camps or whatever, so nothing. I paid just for transport here. And there is one thing which is worth mentioning, and that's tolls in Italy. They are very, very high. I paid, like I have it here, I paid 200 euros for both ways. It took me, I traveled from Czechia by car. It's for 1,400 kilometers, 1,400 kilometers from Czechia. It took me about 15 hours of driving. In Austria, you get the 10 days vignette and it's not a problem, 10 euros, 12 euros. But in Italy, you pay per kilometer, and that's add up very, very quickly. It's true that their highways are nice and smooth and free lines and everything, so it's easy to ride. And I was riding through the night, so it was half empty, but it's ridiculously expensive. So I paid 200 euros just for vignettes for both ways here. That's the biggest expense, or my only expense here. Nothing else, basically. You can fly to some bigger city here and take a bus or train. I think it will be more expensive than by a car, and definitely less comfortable, because when you are driving a car, it's free. You can go where you want, how fast you want, stop where you want. It feels easier for me, but the option also is to fly to closer city, bigger city, and to take a buses or trains here. You can regularly see or hear airplanes here, so I guess there is some bigger airport somewhere within 100 kilometers. So that's it. I highly recommend this place. If you like mountain trails, I think that this is one of the best, for me, the best places in Europe to hike, for those many reasons which I already mentioned. If you liked Tour du Mont Blanc or the Dolomites, you will absolutely love this. There is zero chance that you won't. And just come and see it by yourself. In the member section of my YouTube channel, there are more videos about these trails with many informations which I went into more details. I'm talking about many of informations here in these videos, but I'm talking about more in those separate videos in more details. And also there are detailed maps where there is my daily route. So I marked where I started, when I camped, where I went and where I camped, and made those daily routes. There is no reason to mark anything else, how I'm always doing, because on other maps I'm marking caves and shelters and things like that. There is nothing like that and you also don't need to mark water sources, because on places which I'm hiking, they are usually rare, so they are worth marking. But here the water is everywhere, so you don't need to mark anything. Anyway, there are maps and photos, so check it out if you want. My next plans, easy, in 2 months in September, I'm going to like La Palma, Canary Island, and in December, another Canary Island, Fuerteventura, which I hiked already, but going to hike it on different places and explore just more, because I love the Canaries, especially in the winter when it's dark and gray and cold in Europe and there is basically summer. So see you on another hike.